Welcome back to This Week. Time now to get the views of our media and political experts, Nashville Democratic State Senator Thelma Harper and syndicated conservative talk show host Steve Gill. Welcome. Another busy week, especially for you guys down on the Hill.
Oh, yes.
Beginning
come and join us.
We try to get down there. Beginning with another push to permanently ban a state income tax in Tennessee. And I guess the real question is this needed? Is it a waste of time? Doesn't the Constitution already ban a state income tax in Tennessee?
It is a waste of time, and it's one of those wedge issues, and it's an election issue. I think we should be focused on people in Tennessee who are suffering. There's no mention of it. We've put it to sleep. But I think it gets television time. See, you all covered that. Bumgarner did an outstanding job. He does an outstanding job down there. But that isn't what we need to be talking about. We need to talk about how we're going to feed Tennesseans, how Tennesseans are going to get jobs, and how we are going to move on with a greater effort to educate our children, take care of our senior citizens, what we're going to do about Clover Bottom, what we're going to do about our girls at New Vision. There's so many other things, but to pull that out, and you all waste all that good television time on whether or not there should be. There's not going to be. That's been proven.
If anybody knows anything about how people do oppose an income tax, it's Steve. So is this needed, or is it already taken care of?
I don't think it's needed. The Constitution is crystal clear. The Supreme Court of the state of Tennessee has ruled 3 times that Tennessee does not authorize a general income tax on wages. We have the Hall income tax on investments, but the Constitution is clear. The Supreme Court has ruled on it. The reason it's an issue is because during the push for the income tax, some of the Democrats in the legislature, led by then House Speaker Jimmy Navy, were saying that they could get the Supreme Court to overturn those previous rulings, and that's the fear that allows them to drive and come back then. The people that were pushing it are still there.
Well, let me just tell you something. I think it's interesting when you introduce us. You introduce Thelma Harper, Democrat. I'm not ashamed of it. But he's conservative, but he never has anything decent to say about a Democrat. He always has to pull them out and pull them in. Now, I would
point out, by the way, they never identify you as liberal, but they always call me conservative.
But they don't have to. They know that if being liberal is feeding old people and children, then bury me liberal. But
then why don't they identify it? Why do they always have to identify me as conservative? People figure it out about 3 seconds into my conversation.
But they know but the public knows you're not conservative.
Couple more issues up there this week that you won't like talking about, but they're morality issues. Again, an attempt to stop alcohol sales after midnight and an attempt to ban commercials for Girls Gone Wild. Now, you tell me your review.
Let me just tell you, these are colleagues with whom I serve, but I think there are more important things to do. You know, if you want to see Girls Gone Wild, and it's not just girls, it's old men and old women, go to Florida. You know, they're just naked down there. So what are we complaining about? Leave those girls alone, and if you don't want them in your home, that's what the flicker is for. It's unbelievable. And as far as alcohol, I think every merchant in this city, in this state, recognize when it's too much. We've had lessons on training your employees on when you think someone has had enough to drink, stopping it off at 12 o'clock. It's television time. It's an election year. And you can go back home and say, oh, I tried to stop liquor. I tried to stop wine, but they're trying to put it in the grocery stores. Those very people who are talking, putting it in grocery stores. I think it's a moot issue. Leave those businesses alone. If they violate the law, do what you do to violators. But that's not a real issue. Let those people run their businesses. Neither one of them ever been a business person.
Election year politics or more to it?
A lot of it's election year politics, and I'm an equal opportunity basher when it comes to Republicans or Democrats doing stupid stuff. I mean, Don Sundquist during that whole income tax thing was a Republican, Thelma, and I kind of gave him that. But let me point out that on both of these, they need to look at some of the ads that are airing during prime time that are at least as objectionable as the Girls Gone Wild stuff, if you'll pay attention to the nuance. Unfortunately, that's part of free speech in a society where, as Thelma said, use the clicker. That's why we have 130-something channels on cable. There's always something else you can watch.
But let me tell you, let me defend Don Sundquist. You know, you have to give a dog his day. But
I didn't call him a dog.
No, but that's just a general term. Not he was a dog. Don Sundquist at least knew when he needed to make amends. Never shall forget, saw this man coming down the hall, didn't know who he was. He came to my office with the white flag, waving the white flag. And when I saw him, I didn't reduce him to that level. He was waving a white flag. He said, we want to get along. So I think he made some mistakes, yes. I mean, some dumb stuff he did. He didn't ask advice first. But he was not the absolute worst thing that could have happened to him. You could talk to him.
Controversial resolution up that you talked about, honoring Michael Jackson. It was defeated in the Senate. It passed in the House by 1 vote, so it's not going to happen in Tennessee.
Well, you know, I'm glad God is a just God and he is the judge. And I think when you have a group of folk who think they're better than anybody else, all of those better than, some of them have had accusations made against them, and they have not exactly been exonerated. But they can so quickly vote against him. Yes, there were charges made against him, and the minute he paid those parents who willingly carried their children, the minute he paid them those millions of dollars, they withdrew the charges. It's saying that we respect what he did in life. You know, they rejected one on Timberlake. The little boy, he was just a young boy.
From Memphis.
And yes, and sometimes they make mistakes. And some of them, you all are not old enough to remember, they rejected one for Jocelyn Elders because she had the nerve to talk about sex publicly.
Should we even go with it, with these kind of resolutions?
If we're going to do them, we ought to look at the whole body of work as it goes with these folks. And, you know, frankly, if people have passed on in particular, you're respecting their major contributions. Right. And Michael Jackson's the greatest pop star ever.
That's right.
And to say we're not going to honor him because he had some problems in his life, you know, again, let's go through the legislature and see who doesn't have any problems down there.
Well, you know, I wanted to do one for Steve McNair. You know, I'm a little jittery about that because the man gave. Yes, men misstep. We know that men are always getting into trouble. And you go back to Adam when
we've been taking a shot at it.
Usually they're doing it with a woman.
No. Listen, it was because Adam was dumb. He was too shiftless to get up and examine that apple. He just bit it because he had an attractive woman to give it to him.
Nationally, President Obama.
We're way off target.
Yeah, we are. So wewe're trying to get it back in here. Went and met with Republicans this week trying to say, I want to have a summit. I want to put it on TV, work out jobs, work out health care. Republicans said, finally, I think this is a good idea, but then kind of took shots at the proposal. Is this the way something can get accomplished for jobs, for health care?
I think it's hard to say we want to have bipartisanship when your national counterterrorism expert is going out on the same day saying that if you disagree with Mirandizing terrorists, you're for Al-Qaeda. So the kind of the reaching out the hand of peace while you're slapping somebody upside the head is not bipartisanship. And that's why you're not going to see any real movement.
30 seconds.
Let me just tell you something. The old guy in Alabama, Shelby or whatever his name is, voted against, he said everything against the president, everything against the stimulus package. And then when people get the stimulus package, he's standing there with the check, chinning and grinning, holding up 80 appointments. Now, they're hypocritical is what it is.
Yeah, none of that happened when George Bush was in the White House and the Democrats were doing the same thing.
He didn't give them a stimulus package that they could really go home and
But
brag
they blocked appointments. They wouldn't let people come up for a vote.
But I'm talking about getting people back to work. The stimulus
and I'm talking about blocking people from votes, which is what you just brought up.
Work, which is the money that's building our roads and creating jobs. That's really what it's all about.
But it hadn't created any jobs. That's the bottom line.
It has
in fictitious congressional districts and in non-existent zip codes.
It has.
We have to continue. Thelma Harper, Steve Gill, appreciate your interest. Stay with us. This break continues in a moment.